All right, let's dive into a really fascinating story today. We're looking at how some of the oldest problems in business are getting solved by some of the newest technology out there. We're talking about stablecoins, and believe it or not, how they've become this sort of secret weapon for businesses in places like Zimbabwe. So let's break down how that's even possible. Seriously, just think about this for a minute. You're running a company, and you need to pay a supplier overseas for materials you absolutely need. The problem? From one day to the next, you have no idea what your own country's currency is going to be worth. How do you even make a plan? How do you keep your business partners happy? How do you survive, let alone compete on a global stage? And this is where the story gets a crazy 21st century twist. Instead of going through the usual channels, the traditional banks, some really smart businesses are looking to the blockchain for an answer. It might sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but nope, this is happening right now. To really get why this is such a game changer, we first have to understand the hurdles these companies are up against every single day. Let's call it the fiat fight. That constant battle businesses face when they're dealing with traditional currencies and old-school banking systems to trade across borders. And these problems, they're going to look pretty familiar, because honestly, they're as old as international trade itself. You've got currency values that can swing like a pendulum, making any kind of budgeting a total nightmare. Bank transfers? They can take days, sometimes even weeks, to actually go through. And the fees for sending money can just chew up your profits. And half the time, you don't even know where the money is until, poof, it finally shows up. Okay, so with all those headaches in mind, let's look at the solution that's really starting to catch on. We're talking about stablecoins. And the easiest way to think about them is just as digital dollars, a whole new kind of tool built for the fast, connected way we do business today. Now, I know for a lot of people, when you hear the word crypto, your mind immediately jumps to those wild price charts going up and down, and that's fair. But this is the key difference. A stablecoin is specifically designed not to be volatile. Its whole job is to be stable. Its value is anchored or pegged to a stable asset, usually the US dollar. So one stablecoin is meant to always be worth $1. Simple as that. You get the stability of old school money with the speed of new tech. And when you put them side by side like this, wow, the difference is just night and day. Traditional transfers take days. Stablecoins are pretty much instant. Banks charge you hefty fees. Stablecoin networks charge you pennies on the dollar. You're swapping total volatility for rock-solid predictability. And you replace this murky, opaque system with one that's completely transparent, where you can actually watch the transaction happen on the blockchain. The advantages are, well, they're pretty hard to argue with. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Well, there's an amazing case study coming out of Zimbabwe that shows us exactly how this tech is being put to the test and passing with flying colors. And listen, we're not talking about some tiny tech startup just experimenting on the side here. We are talking about a major established corporation in Africa that looked at the old way of doing things and just said, nope, this isn't working anymore. So let me introduce you to the Paragate Group. They're a big deal in the region, and they were facing every single one of the cross-border payment problems we just talked about. So what do? They made a huge strategic pivot. They now use blockchain-based stablecoins to pay their international suppliers directly. Just like that, in one move, they get to bypass the slow banking system and completely shield their deals from the chaos of local currency swings. So, what's the actual impact of a decision like that? Why is this way more than just a cool tech experiment? Let's get into the real, tangible, bottom-line benefits of this new approach. It really kicks off this amazing positive cycle. First off, you've got instant payments. Your suppliers are happy because they get paid on time every single time. That builds trust and way better relationships. Second, because they're using a stablecoin that's pegged to the US dollar, the value is totally predictable. No more waking up to find you've lost a chunk of money overnight. And when you put it all together, it just massively boosts their efficiency and makes them so much more competitive on the world stage. And this case study is so important because it signals a much bigger shift that's happening. This technology is moving out of the world of niche, online speculation, and into the world of practical, mainstream, serious business strategy. And this quote from the source material, it just hits the nail on the head. The whole story is changing. What a lot of people once dismissed as just a risky digital toy is now being seen for what it can be. A really powerful, vital tool for global business that solves real problems for real companies. Look, the Paragate Group is definitely a pioneer here, but you can bet they're not going to be the last. In fact, all the signs are pointing to a future where we see many more major companies, especially in countries with shaky economies, adopt this exact same strategy. It's becoming a blueprint for how to thrive in the middle of economic uncertainty. So that leaves us with one last really big question. Is this just a clever workaround for a specific set of problems, or are we standing on the edge of something much, much bigger? As this tech gets easier to use and more people start to trust it, could it fundamentally rebuild the very foundations of how global trade works? It's a pretty powerful thought. Thanks for joining me for this one.